This isn't working. I need a real man, she said, her voice smooth, eyes full of something that felt more like victory than guilt. Then she smirked. My girlfriend, Tanya, had just admitted she'd been sleeping with her boss. And when I turned to my so-called friends, they already knew. Worse, they agreed with her. That was 2 weeks ago. This morning, my phone lit up with 37 missed calls. Looking back, it should have been obvious. The signs had been piling up like traffic cones around a disaster zone. But when you've spent 4 years building something with someone, your brain starts rewriting red flags into misunderstandings. It started subtle. Tanya claimed overtime at her new job in real estate. Normal, sure, except for the new perfume that wasn't hers, the luxury heels that showed up in our closet with no tags, and her phone, which suddenly never left her hand. When I tried to hug her while she texted, she'd flinch like my arms were made of knives. She went out more. Girls' night, she'd say, always with different names I didn't recognize. I'm not a possessive guy. But I felt it, the way she was slipping out from under our life. Last Wednesday, I was sorting laundry when her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A preview lit up from R. It read, "Miss you already?" Last night was. I didn't read the rest. I didn't need to. When Tanya got home, she was all smoothies and silence, flipping the blender on like we were in some sitcom kitchen. I asked flat out, "Who's R?" The blender shut off. Her back stiffened. Then she turned to me with a smile, not her usual warm grin, but something twisted. Triumphant. "Ronald. My boss," she said, sipping her drink. "I've been sleeping with him for 2 months. And honestly, I needed a man who actually gets things done. Not someone who plays Mario Kart with Brandon and lives in hoodies." I stood there, frozen. 4 years. Shared rent, holidays, plans. And she reduced it to gamer slander and power moves. Still, something inside me didn't crack. It sharpened. "Does Megan know?" I asked. Megan, the friend who introduced us. "Oh, she's known for weeks." Tanya grinned. "Most of them do. They just didn't want to tell you because, well, they didn't want the drama." I texted the group chat with Brandon and Megan. One sentence, "Did you know?" Brandon. "Man, no hate, but Tanya deserves someone a little more driven. Don't take it personal." Megan. "We didn't want to hurt you. But maybe this is good. Maybe you needed a wake-up call." No apology. Just polite betrayal. Tanya watched me read the texts. She waited for a meltdown, for the yelling, the tears, the scene she'd get to replay over drinks. Poor Ben couldn't take the truth. Instead, I smiled. Not the bitter smile I'd worn for weeks, but something quiet and real. I walked to the bedroom. Grabbed the overnight bag I always kept packed for weekend hiking trips. Stuffed in my laptop, my passport, and the apartment keys. "Where are you going?" Tanya snapped, that smirk cracking just slightly. "Out," I said. "Keep the apartment. I'm sure Ronald will help with the lease." I closed the door behind me without looking back. My phone buzzed constantly as I drove. Tanya, Megan, even numbers I didn't recognize. I powered it off. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel hollow. I felt relieved. Because sometimes, losing everything is how you finally see what you never had. 2 days after I left, I turned my phone back on. 37 missed calls. 60 unread messages. Tanya's name dominated my notifications like graffiti on a burned-down house. But it wasn't just her. Brandon. Megan. A few people I hadn't heard from in months. And then the social media notifications started rolling in, like some digital tsunami. Tanya had moved fast. According to her latest Instagram story, I wasn't the quiet, steady boyfriend who paid half the bills and helped her rehearse for job interviews. Nope, I was now the emotionally manipulative loser who monitored her every move and isolated her from her support system. She told people I'd thrown a tantrum when she stood up for herself, screamed at her, and smashed a lamp. Spoiler, we didn't even own a lamp. Each post was laced with soft pastel filters and crocodile tears, sprinkled with quotes about healing and finding your power. The comments were full of support from people I thought were friends, some who had even sat at our dinner table. The worst post? A video, her voice cracking as she claimed I had financially abused her by making her split rent evenly while I hoarded money. Rich coming from someone who made more than me and insisted on the 50-50 rule in the first place. But the story only got darker. That same evening, Gemma, an old coworker from the graphic design firm I left last year, texted me, "Hey, check your email. Something's circulating at your old office." Sure enough, there was a memo from HR about maintaining a safe and inclusive workplace, with vague mentions of concerning past behaviors. No names. But I didn't need names. It was clear, Tanya was poisoning the well. The idea of confronting her made me feel nothing. No fire, no revenge. Just curiosity. How far would she go? Later that week, I stopped by a storage unit I'd rented near the edge of town. I needed to grab some jackets, a pair of boots. While I was there, I ran into someone I never expected, Juliet. Tanya's best friend. Her ride or die. The one who once joked we'd never break up unless aliens abducted one of us. She looked pale, like she hadn't slept in days. "I shouldn't be talking to you," she muttered, glancing around like we were in some spy thriller. "But you need to be careful." "What do you mean?" "Ronald isn't just her boss. He's married. And his wife, she's powerful. Tanya's telling people you're unstable. That you threatened her." My stomach turned. "Why are you telling me this?" Juliet hesitated. Then she looked me dead in the eye. "Because this isn't the first time. Before you, there was another guy. Same playbook. Tanya and Ronald destroyed him. He disappeared. Deleted everything. Left the state. That night I barely slept. I stayed up digging. Through public records, social media accounts, LinkedIn connections, anything I could find. It took hours, but I found him. Marcus. Quiet. Tech guy. Vanished around the time Tanya got promoted. And then, like fate had hit, next scene, on a twisted screenplay, I got a DM from a profile I didn't recognize. A woman in her 40s. Elegant, stern. Profile picture in pearls. The message was simple: "We need to talk. About your girlfriend. And my husband. Coffee tomorrow? Mrs. R." I met her at a cafe on 6th and Waverly. She was already seated, sipping black coffee with the poise of someone who's been betrayed before, and learned how to weaponize silence. She opened her purse, pulled out a tablet, and tapped the screen. Emails. Receipts. Photos. And then, security footage. Tanya. Ronald. In the company parking lot. In his car. "That man," she said, "has promised 3 different women a future over the past 6 years. Tanya was just better at playing the victim." I sat there stunned. "You have a choice," she said. "You can disappear like Marcus. Or you can help me end this." I didn't say anything. But inside, something old and tired woke up. This wasn't about love anymore. This was about exposure. The night after meeting Mrs. R, I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. I spent hours combing through old emails, text backups, anything I could use to connect dots, because suddenly this wasn't just Tanya cheating. This was a blueprint. A calculated takedown, and I had unknowingly been cast as its final act. It reminded me of something I hadn't thought about in years. When I was 17, I caught my stepmother going through my dad's savings account. She was helping him organize bills, she said. But I noticed the missing money weeks later, $9,000 gone. Turned out, she'd sent it to her son, my stepbrother, to help with a once-in-a-lifetime investment. It was a scam. My dad forgave her instantly. Said families make mistakes. But I remembered her smirk as I confronted her, like I was the one being naive for expecting honesty. That same smirk lived on Tanya's face the night she confessed. And now, I realized, I'd been replaying that betrayal. Hoping this time, someone would choose me. But no one ever had. So, I met with Mrs. R again the next day. She had everything. Screenshots, invoices, recordings. Tanya wasn't just sleeping with her husband, she was coordinating with him. Manipulating internal promotion metrics. Spinning HR complaints. Sabotaging colleagues. They were predators wearing LinkedIn smiles. But Mrs. R didn't want revenge. Not the messy kind. She wanted exposure. "The annual gala is in 3 days," she said. "Everyone will be there. Executives. Board members. The press. I can't make them listen. But you? You're the final thread. If you pull it, everything unravels." At first, I hesitated. Did I really want to walk into a room full of people who thought I was a monster? Would anyone believe me? Then I remembered Juliet's face. The fear in her voice. This isn't the first time. And I remembered Marcus. Erased. No more disappearing. The night of the gala, I wore the only suit I had left, navy blue, pressed sharp. Mrs. R met me at the hotel entrance with a flash drive and a look that said everything without a word. The ballroom glittered like a lie, mirrors and chandeliers and champagne bubbles. Tanya was already there. She wore silver. Her hand rested on Ronald's arm like she'd won some lifetime achievement award in manipulation. I almost expected applause. When she saw me, she didn't flinch. Just smirked. Of course he came. Another scene for her to narrate later. She leaned in to whisper something to Ronald. Probably a warning. But it was too late. Because that's when it started. Gemma, my ex-coworker, walked on stage, holding the mic meant for speeches. She tapped it twice, calm and confident. "I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight," she began. "But before the toasts, I'd like to share something special." The projector screen behind her lit up. First slide, an email from Tanya. "We'll flag his performance review. Say he's unstable. Make it stick." Gasps. Next, security footage of her and Ronald. Kissing in his car. Exchanging files. Next, a company Slack message. Tanya bragging. "He thinks we're just dating. Wait till he sees his termination notice. LOL. Then came the voice recording, Tanya calling me a soft distraction, and Ronald laughing. Let him spiral. It's entertaining. I looked across the room. Tanya had gone pale. Ronald stepped forward, muttering to someone in security. But they weren't moving. No one was. Because Mrs. R walked in, holding a court-stamped document, divorce papers already filed. She handed them to Ronald in front of everyone. That's when Tanya snapped. "You think this changes anything?" she screamed. "Jay, he loves me. We have plans. This was all going to work out." Ronald didn't even look at her. And that silence? That was her real sentence. Gemma stepped down. Mrs. R followed. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Because then the biggest twist came. Brandon. My old friend. He'd been filming Tanya's meltdown on his phone, to send to Ronald later as leverage. He forgot to mute the mic. And everyone heard it. I just wanted her to crash and burn. She always thought she was so smart. Now she's roadkill. Tanya turned on him instantly. You traitor! She lunged. Security stepped in. She was escorted out screaming. And in the middle of that chaos, I stood still, calm, unmoved. Because sometimes you don't need to win. You just need the truth to finally walk into the light. By the next morning, Tanya's name was everywhere. The footage of her meltdown at the gala was all over LinkedIn, Reddit, even TikTok. Someone had captioned it. How to torch your career in under 3 minutes. It had 1.2 million views by lunch. But the public embarrassment was just the spark. The real explosion came from within the company. See, Mrs. R hadn't stopped at humiliation. She'd handed off a thick envelope to the board of directors immediately after the gala. Inside were falsified expense reports, emails showing workplace harassment, manipulated evaluations. Tanya and Ronald hadn't just had an affair. They'd weaponized it. Against coworkers. Against HR. Against anyone who got in the way. The company responded fast. Corporate fast. By Monday morning, both Ronald and Tanya were gone. Not just fired, formally disavowed. The press release was cold and clinical. Internal misconduct. Zero tolerance policy. Ethical failure. But that wasn't the best part. The best part was what came next. Marcus, remember him? The ghost Tanya and Ronald erased? He came back. Mrs. R had reached out to him weeks before the gala, quietly building a case. He showed up at the same board meeting with a flash drive full of receipts, emails, DMs, a voice memo where Ronald offered him a fake promotion to keep quiet. He filed a lawsuit that day. And like some karmic chain reaction, others followed. 3 more former employees. One by one. Like dominoes finally tipped. Tanya tried to get ahead of it. Of course she did. A tearful apology video showed up on her Instagram. She claimed she was a victim of manipulation. That Ronald used her, that she was groomed into participating. But then Juliet, her old best friend, grew a spine. Juliet posted screenshots. Lots of them. Chats where Tanya bragged about faking HR reports. A voice note where she laughed about sidelining weak links. A photo she took of Ronald shirtless in the office, captioned, "Leveraging my raise." Winking face. The internet didn't buy her tears after that. Neither did her friends. Megan unfollowed her. Brandon deleted all his social media. Even Chloe, her closest ally in our old group, posted something vague about not supporting liars. And just when I thought it couldn't get more surreal, Tanya showed up. At my motel. Pete, the guy who runs the place, knocked on my door at 9:30 p.m. "She's out in the parking lot," he said. "Same girl from the meltdown video, right? Should I call the cops?" I stepped outside and saw her. Tanya, slumped on the hood of my car, mascara streaked, hugging a thick manila envelope like it was life support. "You win," she said before I could speak. "I have dirt. On everyone. If you don't help me stop this," her voice cracked, "I'll release it all. I swear." I didn't flinch. "Then do it," I said. She blinked. "What?" "Burn it all. Let everyone see what you've been hiding. You don't scare me anymore." She threw the envelope at my feet like it was a weapon. I picked it up, leafed through the contents, screenshots, gossip, blackmail material she'd gathered over years. A few pages had my name. I took out my phone. Snapped photos of every single one. Then handed it back to her. "You still think you're the smartest person in the room," I said. "But look around. You're alone." She stared at me, trembling. Then, in one final burst of fury, she ripped the papers in half. Tossed them in the trash. Screamed something incoherent. Someone across the parking lot filmed the whole thing. It was online by midnight. Caption: "Guess who's back for round 2?" The final blow came 2 days later. Mrs. R's divorce was finalized. She got everything. The house. The cars. Even Ronald's stock options, seized to cover legal fees. His name had been scrubbed from every company listing. His golden parachute? Gone. And Tanya? Last I heard, she moved back in with her aunt in Nebraska. Her Instagram went dark. Her name, once printed on press releases and office plaques, now whispered as a cautionary tale. Brandon sent me a message. Something half-hearted about regrets and timing. I replied with a screenshot of his "Tanya deserves better" message. He blocked me. Coward. As for me? I signed a lease on a new apartment. I started consulting again. Got a promotion. I even went on a few dates, with someone who actually asks how my day went. I'm taking it slow. Because the truth is, this wasn't just Tanya's unmasking. It was mine too. I stopped chasing people who wouldn't even notice if I disappeared. And it turns out, the moment you stop trying to prove your worth to the wrong people, everything starts to fall into place. It's been a month since Tanya tried to blackmail me in a motel parking lot. She never followed through. Because by then, no one was listening anymore. After the gala fallout, the lawsuits, the screenshots, and the viral videos, her story had lost all oxygen. Even the people who once cheered for her online had moved on. The comment sections were empty. The sympathy posts deleted. She tried one last Hail Mary, an anonymous Medium article claiming to be a whistleblower on corporate corruption. But by the second paragraph, she'd slipped back into old habits, blaming, deflecting, rewriting. And someone in the comments linked to a video titled, "The Real Tanya, a Timeline of Lies." 10 minutes long. All receipts. She disabled comments after that. The last time I saw her name mentioned publicly, it was a thread asking, "Whatever happened to that Tanya girl?" No one replied. Meanwhile, I kept moving forward. Mrs. R and I stayed in contact, mostly as allies, not friends. She sent me a gift a week after the divorce finalized, a sleek glass decanter with a card that read, "Some victories are silent, but never forget them." The legal storm raged for weeks after. Ronald settled one lawsuit. Lost another. He's under federal investigation now for tax fraud tied to company reimbursements. Tanya? She's listed as a witness. And possibly a co-conspirator. But here's the kicker. One of the former employees, Marcus, he reached out to me. Said my actions gave him the courage to come forward. We met for coffee. He looked better than I expected, healthy, sharp, steady. "You didn't just save yourself," he told me. "You ended the cycle." I didn't respond right away. Because deep down, I knew he was right. But I'd been so used to carrying shame that even now, praise felt foreign. That weekend I packed the last of my things from the motel. Pete, the owner who'd been quietly rooting for me, helped me load up. "You came in a ghost," he said, handing me a bag of takeout for the road. "Now look at you." I smiled. It wasn't a grin. Not smug or sarcastic. Just peace. And here's the real twist, the one Tanya never saw coming. I started dating someone new. Her name's Rachel. We met at a volunteer event for a nonprofit that helps people leave toxic workplaces. The first time I told her the full story, she didn't pity me. She just said, "Sounds like you finally stopped auditioning for the wrong people." And that's when it hit me. Tanya never broke me. She revealed me. For years I'd been quiet. Loyal. Afraid of being called dramatic. So I let things slide. Betrayals, slights, half-lies disguised as tough love. But this time? I stood up. I let it all burn, and walked away from the ashes better. So no, Tanya, I wasn't weak. I was just waiting. And when the time came, I didn't fight dirty. I simply let the truth speak louder than you ever could.